going to endeavour to bring you an overview of the zero-point field and the topic of infinite possibilities, and how I have applied them to my research work. This is, with the restrictions of time, this is just an overview. The zero-point field, simply the field, has been brought to the forefront and put in words understandable, a language understandable by the lay reader, by researcher Lynn McTaggart in her book The Field. And this work provides an insight into the mysteries of quantum physics and quantum mechanics, and how science relates and indeed reveals much of the true nature of human beings and the faculties contained within the human body at a cellular level. We are all endowed with the most incredible natural God-given abilities, much of which is not yet understood or even acknowledged. Indeed, most of us virtually stumble through our daily rounds without realizing that every thought and every action has an immediate reaction on our surroundings, let alone the reaction that is felt within every other living cell of all life on this planet. This is a biggie. This is indeed a quantum leap in faith and understanding. But there is to be found the very essence, but here is to be found the very essence of whom and what we really are. We are composed of parts of the whole. We are convincingly connected with everything, the past, the present, and the future. When they released that film, What the Bleep Do We Know, that reached a great number of people with an incredible message. And this film takes you on a mind-bending voyage through the worlds of science and spirituality as revealed by quantum physics experts. Now your perception of reality is turned inside out and the meaning of life becomes clear. It is an easy reach for everybody. We have just to stop and think and take action. And within this action we can easily experience all that is truly ours by right. Shaman, Tohunga mystics, rishis and munis have always held the keys to realms that are both mysterious and in most cases unobtainable to the masses. These realms have never really been denied to us. It is just that we have not been looking. We have never been disconnected. It is just that we have never bothered. That is about to change for a great number of people. The reductive worldview of those in positions of power and influence was further enhanced by organized religion and modern science. We no longer have to live in a perceived isolation and separation. We no longer have to deny intuition that allows us the moment when we reach out and live in the universal knowledge of the field. As humans, we exist in and are totally immersed in a sea of powerful energies through which we are connected to the field that totally encompasses us and everyone else. I want to tell a little story here that took place a number of years ago. And a group of us had travelled north in the company of the Waitaha Tawhito elder. And we were to come to a certain place right down a Potu Point on the northern edges of the Kaipara Harbour. And we were here to see if we could help the Kaumātua to pinpoint the site of an ancient Waitaha village. This indeed was a village known as Arahanga, and the location of it had long been lost, and it was, according to their stories, the last big village in the north before they had to flee to the south. And so we were to come to this particular place, and we camped overnight, and the idea was that we would rise the next morning early, pre-dawn, and go to have a look and see if we could stand on top of this big sand dune, about 20-25 metres high, giving us a good clear view inland, up the harbour, cross the lighthouse, the hill behind it, and look at the distant horizon where we could see the mountains silhouetted against the night sky, and watch for the sun to rise. And then the elder was to look for other certain signs in the area, which would then be an indicator as to whether or not this was the place of the ancient village. And so we were all to rise, but when the elder came round and rattled our tents first thing in the morning, there was only two of us arose, Noel Hilliam, the curator of the Dargaville Museum, and myself. And so we followed the elder in a circuitous route, following some ridges to get up to the top of the steep sand dune. Steep on one side, on the side facing to the east, where we wished to watch the sunrise. And so we stood. There was an incredible alignment of a crescent moon and 3 stars. It was a very moving time. And then, as we stood on the crest, about 20-25 metres high, a mist appeared, flowing down the hill to the east, enveloping the old Potu lighthouse. It was like flowing water. The mist fell down, flowed to the small valley floor below us, the sand valley. Then we saw 2 shapes moving ahead of the flow. And I thought, well, there were others from our campsite, and they were looking for us. So I had a big torch with me, and I flashed it in the direction to let them know this is where we were, not down in that valley towards the lighthouse, but right up behind the camp, and looking to the east. Now, the mist carried on across the valley below us, rolling like water, the 2 figures moving in front of it. And then they came to the base of the sand dune in which we're standing, and they commenced to move up the sand. Now I thought this was going to be almost impossible, because the actual dune was very steep, and also it was very dry sand. I thought they would be ill-found for their footing. So I sort of went to the edge of this dune and once again shone my torch down onto the figures. I could see the figures there in the half-light of the dawn, the pre-dawn. But when I shone my torch on them, they weren't there. And when I turned the torch off, there they were. Then the elder looked at both of us and said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "just move back, he said. "I will handle this." And so we moved back a little into the particular place, and he stood on the edge, and the 2 figures came and stood before him. They were indistinct, as was his figure in this half-light. They were silhouetted against the mist in the valley down below. And the elder spoke with them, and I could see his hands moving, I could see them talking. And suddenly they turned and just vanished, and we watched as he walked back to us. Now, he said that they were guardians who had come through to see who we were and why we were there. Now, this event took place when our attention was focused on the heavens as we watched for the sun to rise and the signs that would provide us with the information that we sought. We were told that confirmation of our quest had been given by the 2 beings that had appeared. They had responded to our intention to discover information that would enable us to pinpoint the site of an ancient Waitaha village. It did turn out that the place looking at the landmarks which were discovered that this was indeed Arahanga, the site of the last village. And as we left later that morning, after we'd had our breakfast, we were very, very quiet, and with the 4 vehicles we started to move from where we had camped overnight back down through the dunes and onto the beach to turn and go north up the coast towards Bailey's Beach. And as we came out between the sand dunes down to the beach, the vehicles in front stopped, and the elder leapt out, pointing, and we all stopped and climbed out of our vehicles and looked at what he's pointing to. And there, swimming in the waves, was a whale in the harbour mouth. And he were tears in his eyes, and he said, another sign, he said. This is the being that guided our people to this land. So, a wonderful journey. We also had another experience there. A few years later, we were back looking for more evidence to support the establishment of the village there and where people may have lived, and we came across a pond on the side of one of the dunes in the coastal scrub, which had been formed by hand and to provide water coming down from a spring-fed waterfall. So we thought we would follow the spring back up to see if we could find a source. And we followed the little meandering spring as it flowed across the hard-packed sand and through amongst the roots of the coastal manuka and trees. Moss-covered ground, a beautiful, beautiful place, soft and light, easy to walk through. And as we followed the stream, we came to another pond in which a bigger waterfall fell into. And we thought, well, this is as good a place as any to stop and have a rest for a few moments and have a muesli bar and a drink of water and a chat about which way would we go from here in our search. And as we sat for a moment of quietness, and there was a group of 6 of us, we heard voices, because we all looked at each other. We could hear the chatter of voices, and they were coming from round a slight rise. We were sitting in a little basin where the pond was, and there was a slight rise there. We could hear the voices around there, and they seemed to be getting closer and stronger. We could not hear what they were saying, but there was chatter, 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 and laughter, laughter, laughter. And so we all sort of raised up a bit and looked around and looked down, and the chattering and the talking passed probably about 20 metres, 15 to 20 metres in front of where we were looking. A very clear patch of bush. And the voices moved across in front of us, but there were no beings there. The voices moved in front of us and disappeared. Stage left. We looked at each other. We had seen another manifestation of something incredible at this place. And it was then that we decided that we would follow the direction of those voices and where those beings, whoever they might have been, were going. Their laughter, their voice, which we couldn't make out the words, and their song will stick with us forever. We did follow where they'd gone, and we did find a very interesting thing, which is a story for another day. So, after many years, I found a rational explanation for that event. Parallel universes and enhanced perceptions go part of the way to explaining many strange happenings. Likewise, so do other realms of possibility, other realms in which people may live. The fairy beings are something that I'm very interested in. Now, over the years, I have travelled to and explored many ancient sites in New Zealand and overseas. I've often been in the company of folk who have crossed the divide between knowing and not knowing. Terms and names have been given to those who have realised their God-given gifts of clairvoyance, psychometry, healing, remote viewing, dowsing, extrasensory perception, second sight and channeling. I've often had the pleasure and support in my work of many folk who have talents that have helped me to gain further insight into the early people I had been researching. Distant map reading by dowsers has often helped to pinpoint a location in hilly and scrub-covered terrain. I've always been in wonder at the ease with which clairvoyants can readily see past events and people at places where the untrained see only that which is there in the present moment and not visible to the eye. To stand alongside and listen as they give an in-depth description of what and whom they are seeing is a wonder. Often such people are directly approached by these folk from the other levels, and a conversation is held. Sometimes there is only a glance of recognition as these people from wherever go about their business. One lady I hold in high regard told me that whether these events are from the past, the present or the future, they all become now. The timing for these connections is so precise, there's no room to muck about. She says that you have to be totally focused on the moment, which has only come about because of your serious intent. Remote viewing has provided us with information from places that are not easily accessible. This talent has allowed us to peer into caves and valleys, and even to obtain descriptions of cave drawings and many artifacts. The skill of reading records of the past within objects that have been handled by hand has often revealed a timeline and dates of major events. Psychometry can also bring out the heart-wrenching stories of calamity and death. Dowsing is often employed in the field to give directions to objects out of sight range. A recent foray to find a hilltop tunnel north of Dargaville looked like a hard slog through steep bush-covered terrain. A description from the person who first saw the tunnel 12 years ago turned out to be rather vague, as certain features in the surrounding landscape had changed. A looped wire and a set of dowsing rods soon gave a direction that brought us to the place we were seeking. The dowsing that had been carried out by Hamish Miller over the past 3 years had produced some amazing results on ley lines and crossover points. I've been inclined to call these lines energy flows and the crossovers energy points, but I had a conversation with a quantum physicist, and he pointed out that these lines are not energy flows. They're not energy lines. Rather that they're lines of information, and the crossovers are information hubs. This then may go a little way to explaining the purpose of these places as found by Hamish Miller. Now, if lines are flows of information, where is the information going to? And where is it coming from? This is where the 0-point field may provide the answer. Physicists are saying that the human brain is not the repository of human memory, but rather the antenna and receiver of memory and impressions that are stored within the field. We actually bring the information in as and when the person demands. This obviously happens in a millisecond. Now the question I am posing, are the information flows that crisscross the whole of the planet at deep subterranean levels, subsurface levels and atmospheric levels, the means by which the personal memory we need to bring forth are transmitted? If this is so, the human brain may be more than a chemically driven collection of millions of cells that does little more than offer a facility to receive and transmit information and provide holographic images of what we are viewing through our eyes. This is a lot to ponder upon. Another personal story I'll now share is about the time that I had a near fatal reaction to the sting of a bee. From the moment I lost consciousness, as my energy field drained away, to when I was resuscitated by a doctor, was a time lapse of 15 to 20 minutes. And in that measurable time I travelled far through an ever-curving tunnel of bright rainbow lights and sounds, the like of which I'd never heard before, and have never heard since. The feeling I had on this unplanned journey was one of great peace, tranquility, and a knowing I was on my way to where I belonged and to where I should be. Gone were all thoughts of my wife and children, and indeed anything to do with the world that I was obviously leaving. It was to be a homecoming and a release. Then I was pulled abruptly back. I heard a voice, that of the doctor, saying, "I think we've got him. I think he's coming back." No matter how loudly I denied the sudden change in my journey, I came back into a body that was to be sick and tired for many days thereafter. But this one singular event forever shaped the way that I look at the world, the people, and the events that occur. They are all very unreal, just a projection that creates the illusion that this is all it is. Now quantum physics provides an answer as to why this all is. How do we know we are out there when we are out there? My search is to find the truth in places in New Zealand, and this has brought me into contact with some amazing people. But on analysis, this journey has allowed me to further explore the one true journey, that of the inner road. There have been many lessons to learn to help me to overcome the denial that I am not a capable and worthy person to bring the greater story to the fore. I've learned that from the wisdom of the ancestors and the wisdom keepers of today. All that I've shared with you over the past years has been a reflection of the love I have for all sentient beings and the God that resides within all. To experience the feel is experiential. The opportunity is open to all. The only reservation would be an individual reluctance to acknowledge that they do not know it all, and why should they bother? But for those who have no reluctance, nothing is impossible, and everything that you needed to know is as close as your physical fingertips. And even if in the darkness you cannot see your fingertips, you have but to feel them all of the other senses you have at your disposal. You can even reach out and touch the fingertips of every other person in the world. In the past, the present, the future, and more importantly, the now. I'd like to finish with a reading from The Gift of the Wisdom of the Four Winds, the series of cards prepared, put together lovingly by Barry Brailsford. And this is what he has to say about the winds, and this is the card I pulled. This time of choosing is important. You now stand within the wonder of the realms of the north wind, the place of wisdom shared. You may not wish to hear the voice that calls at this moment, but it comes as a friend. Stop, be still, look around and listen. Step off the roundabout that spins ever faster and think of what you really need in life. Air invites you to make space for yourself, to breathe deeply and examine where your life is and where you wish it to be. If you have been spinning around a decision, if nothing seems to be coming together as it should, ask yourself if you really know what you seek. It is time to remember that you are the dream maker, that until you place before the universe the dream you wish to walk, it cannot be. Do you truly know what you seek in life and want to know what the universe asks of you? Air cries that it is time to soar, to fly as the birds fly free. Seek out the distant horizons. Open your mind and feel the heartbeat of freedom. Breathe life into yourself. Feed your inner needs. Explore your depths and understand the wise one within, but awaits the journey. Courage is yours. The courage air brings to feed the fire. Courage born of passion. the excitement that tells you the path of your dreams runs true. Honour its call, and I repeat, courage is yours. The courage of air brings to feed the fire within.